sort of overshadowed by this news from Suzuki.
And then we go to Le Mans, the worst track on the whole calendar. Oh, dear me.
Do you really think it's the worst track?
I do. I think that it's a crash fest every single year. We have more crashes at Le Mans through all three classes than anywhere else. You know, the weather can be a major factor. I mean, look what happened last year. We went from dry to wet to dry in one race. You know, people, you know, we had to swapping bikes and so on and so forth, crashing out, long lap loops for speeding in pit lane. Still won though, didn't he? Even though he had a long lap loop for speeding in pit lane, good old Miller. You know, Le Mans, you know, right from when you get there, they changed the entry roads in at will. You know, 1 minute you can come down one road, and the next minute you come down, it has gone one way, and there's a load of police stood there with guns, and you can't come that way, so you've got to work your way around another way. And then half the campsite's been burnt down by a load of animals that are living there over the course of the week. You know, fences dragged out of people's homes to be burnt on bonfires. I suppose it's better than burning people on bonfires. That must be the next stage for some of the fans that go to Le Mans. I have to say that it's great fun if you live in the 1970s. But I think as far as you know, where we are now in the world, I think Le Mans has fallen a long way behind in what you might expect from a Grand Prix. If you fancied a, you know, Woodstock kind of affair with bonfires, no toilets, and living in a tent, then maybe it's for you.
But they get a lot of fans, don't they, Keith? You have to say that. I think it's one of the most popular.
Do they?
Yeah, it's one of the most popular events of the year. One of the most surreal things I've ever experienced at a Grand Prix. It was a few years back, but the Le Mans media room is several floors up. It's quite high up. And it was coming, I think it was the end of a Friday, and still working away. Looked out the window, and there was, I don't know what you call them, but those skateboards, that sort of hoverboards. But this guy was level with 3-4 stories up. This was part of the entertainment for the fans. They tried to keep the fans from the fan site, I guess, to stop them rampaging. They tried to keep them entertained with shows on the main straight. And this guy, I mean, it was pretty impressive, I've got to say. But yeah, I had to think, if I maybe had something stronger than coffee.
Wasn't it? They had the Rocket Man with the rockets on his arms and everything, and shot up and down. You just hope it doesn't misfire at any point.
Yes, he was high. Yeah,
he was high. The thing for me is the tunnel going under the track, going up into the paddock. I mean, I don't know where all these people get all the passes from. You can never park. There's never any room to park. Doesn't matter what class of parking permit you've got. But the favourite one is trying to get in and out when the fans are trying to get in and out at the same time, and they have this system where. And I remember, of course, they love the British. Don't ever go there with a GB sticker on your car, because it's fatal. I remember seeing a car in front of me, a bunch of British, and I've never seen so many willies hanging over the walkway as they weed on his car all the way along the walkway. It's not the most pleasant experience I've ever come across.
Take an umbrella.
Take an umbrella.
For what? The rain or
various uses.
Everything good about having the amount of rain they have in Le Mans. At least it cleans the place down afterwards. It is an experience. I have to say, it is an experience. And Le Mans, the city, I think it's a city, isn't it? Le Mans got a cathedral in it. It's lovely. You know, nice trams. It's a very, very nice place to be. But the actual track drops back a few decades in the way the fans and the like interact with the whole place. Honestly, it's quite an interesting place. Always produces a shock, Le Mans. Shock results. You know, you quite often get an unusual result there, which chucks the cat amongst the pigeons. It's one of them ones where you get people that win races that end up on the podium that you weren't expecting. We should do well with our predictions this week, then, shouldn't we?
Yes. I've just had a look at the weather for Le Mans this weekend, and no chances of rain at the moment. But I know we're only recording this on a Monday, but Friday and Saturday looking fairly sunny. Sunday, a little bit of cloud, but still sunny. Highs of 27 degrees. So,
well, I mean, I hope we have a dry race meeting. Having said that, I quite like the way that Le Mans keeps you all on your toes regarding what setup you're going to be running. I mean, it's a very simple track. It's it's a fairly easy track to learn. Quite an easy track to work out in the end. The the big issues really are, top of the hill going through that chicane, which used to be flat out over the top in the olden days, under the Dunlop Bridge. Always a lot of accidents up the top there because you're approaching it. I mean, you remember that Jack Miller crash a few years ago? I mean, just spectacular. I mean, I still hold my breath when I see the repeat of it nowadays. I mean, one of the biggest crashes I've ever seen, and he got up and walked away from it, stunned, shaken but not stirred, sir. Pretty impressive. But Le Mans, when I said at the opening gambit, Crash Fest, always the most crashes out of any Grand Prix every year virtually.
Well, if you haven't booked your ticket yet, I don't know if you want your refund or what. 50-50 gamble, I think, for this weekend.
What I just said might have encouraged more people to go.
I know, but what you said before that
lack of regulation, that kind of 1980s, early 80s feel about a place. A lot of people like that kind of situation.
Absolutely, just don't say you're British.
It's not about hotels and Miami F1, where if you're not spending $1 million to park yourself in a yacht that's in a car park. I mean, how ridiculous was that? Have you ever seen anything like it?
It's a marina.
Unbelievable. They painted the floor blue and put some boats on it to make it a marina.
I think that is what MotoGP is missing, quite frankly, I think. Pete, what are you looking out for in particular? What are you hoping for and hoping to see from Le Mans this weekend?
I think one of the big questions will be Bagnaia. Obviously he's had this disappointing start to the year. We've seen him sort of building, and now he's got the win under his belt. Now, can he build on that? Can he really start eating into Quartararo's lead? It's going to be important for him to do that. But I think that's going to be one of the main things. And likewise, for Quartararo, we've got Mugello coming up. We've got Catalunya after Le Mans, tracks where he's going to be in that position again, where he's struggling for top speed. So he's really got to try and take advantage. He was saying, Jerez, Le Mans are two tracks where he's really got to try and get the points in to maybe make up for points that he might lose at those bigger tracks. So big weekend for both of those guys at the front of the field. And then, as you say, it's so close that really all of the others, I mean, who's going to be the next guys on the podium? Could Suzuki, could Mia, having not had a podium this year, in the aftermath of this sort of devastating news, put the bike on the podium for the first time, in 2022. So, yeah, I mean, it'll be close as ever. Good news that the weather's going to be good, I guess. As you say, it's always been known for unpredictable weather, and that makes unpredictable results. But I think even without that, even with a nice, stable sunshine, we hope, fingers crossed, I think it's still going to be so close to call.
For me, John McPhee's back, Moto 3, scheduled to be back. Hopefully his back will be working good enough for him to perform. It's going to be a tall order, even at Le Mans, there's no doubt about that. But what am I looking forward to this weekend? A Jake Dixon win in Moto 2. Sam Lowe's Jake Dixon round Le Mans is the kind of place that one of those guys can pull it out of the bag. To be honest, I don't care which one it is, as long as we get one of the Brits on the top step, that'll do for me. Yeah. But Jake Dixon, having had that disappointment a couple of years ago, where he crashed out, some 3 or 4 laps from the end when he got the job covered. He'd done all the work he needed to do. And that Mickey Mouse little double right-hander finishing onto the start and finish straight that he slid off of. It ripped his heart out and everybody else's as well, because he did deserve to win that. So a Jake Dixon win this weekend, that would sort of level it up for me.
Right. I think what's important is we do our predictions for this one before we move on. Keith, then, as you say, we could do quite well with our predictions here, or at least one of us could do quite well, because it's certainly a little bit of a gamble in MotoGP anyway, and Le Mans perhaps more so than some other tracks. Who's your 1, 2, 3?
Are you asking me?
Yeah. Go on. You're the Le Mans expert.
Bagnaia, Quartararo.
Yeah.
Bagnaia, Quartararo. I've got to put Miller in there, haven't I, really? Bagnaia, Quartararo, Miller.
All right, okay. Interesting. A couple of Ducatis on there.
Zarco.
Yeah, you said last time as well, the French always get a couple of extra tenths at their home races.
Well, they do, but it depends on the weather. I was listening to your weather forecast. If it's dry, where Zarco really scores is and where the anomalies come is when you get a little bit of damp here and there. I mean, it always throws in some really, really odd races. I'll stick with what I said, because to be honest, it's like putting a pin in a bloody map anyway.
Well, and it is only Monday, so the weather can very much change in the next few days. Pete, who's your 1, 2, 3?
I will go Quartararo, home win. So,
Okay.
and I had the same Bagnaia Miller kind of dilemma as Keith. So I'll go for Miller for second. Miller always goes well at this track. He's had some bad luck, but yeah, he goes well there. So I'll go with him second, and I'll go Zarco third. I'll go for. I think it's either going to go really well for Zarco. I think he's going to really rise to the occasion, or it might not
Or
go
terribly.
So well. Yeah. So I'm going to go positive and say that he'll be on the podium as last.
Okay. I'm also feeling the French vibes this weekend, so I am also going to go for a Quartararo win because I've now got a couple of points on the board, and I feel like I can catch up here. I'm going to go for an Aleix Espargaro second. He's in form of his life at the moment, and that Aprilia running well. I've no idea if that's even backed up by any previous historic races. I don't think it is. And then I'm going to go for Zarco third. So sorry, Pete, I've sort of copied you a bit there, but with a Espargaro instead of Miller. So that's my 1, 2, 3, Quartararo, Aleix Espargaro, and Zarco. Pete, Quartararo, Miller, and Zarco, and Keith Bagnaia, Quartararo, and Miller. So let us know your predictions as well, as ever, in the comments below. We'll all be wrong, but it'll all be fine. So exciting stuff coming up for Le Mans.